All right, telescoping lid assembly. We got our little bag of nails, and it says telescoping top nails on them. We've got our pieces here. This is the piece of galvanized metal, the inside. Set those off to the side momentarily. So far, we've only used a hammer, which is nice. Again, relatively idiot-proof. There's only one way that these things can go together, and that was the wrong way. All of your channels are going to be on the same side. I just tried to put it in there like this, and it doesn't fit. So channels go together. Channel goes together up here. And so what I'm going to try to do is see if this will stay sort of loosely together whilst I try to pound in a nail. You didn't know you were going to get basic woodworking skills with your beekeeping hobby, did you? Okay, so the small nails are most likely to go through the outside of the tin. So take the longer nails, as I keep dropping them on the ground, the longer nails go through. This is exactly how it's going to happen in your place. Dropping nails, my hammer flying off. Another bag of nails. There we go. Let me get the big hammer. Okay, here's what I'm going to try to do. Set this gently on end. And now, actually I need to do it this way, lengthwise. Why? Because you have to drive the nails down. So, just get that joint as nice and tight as you can. Center the nail. When you put the piece of masonite in there, since it's square, it will give it rigidity. This one is a bit tricky. There we go. So now just hold it as tight as you can. Flip this over, or rotate it 180 degrees. Again, I'm kind of holding it like this and sort of squeezing the joint closed as I'm hammering that down. Those first two sides are the hardest. This nail doesn't have a head on it, so I'm going to go look for another nail. Alright, two more long ones. And you'll notice when you do this, like, these are obviously two different trees. You know, the grain on this is a lot tighter than the grain on that. So you're going to get different hardnesses of board. That's because they're just milling this thing up in mass. All right, one nail on each side. goes down on my workbench. Okay, so now I take my piece of masonite and make sure the lip is up. That should kind of drop right in. And so if it's out of square a little bit, which it's probably going to be, you sort of wiggle room it in there. I'm going to knock out one corner. You may have wanted to build this Okay, so what I did is just put it in there, and now that's going to tighten it up. Check that one. Good. Go to the opposite corner. So that telescoping lid was probably off by maybe a 1/16 of an inch, which could just be a blade setting at the factory or whatever, but pretty tight tolerances other than that. Let's get another long nail. And if you can see that gap, I'm going to try to pound that down a little bit. There we go. If that happens, pull it out and get a new nail. That's the other beauty of a nail gun, is it just pops them in there and there's no bouncing. Okay, so for the sake of this video, I obviously would want to put some more nails around the perimeter, but so that we can show you how this fits together. Once you get those nails in, you're going to want to put this top on, and you're going to have to fiddle with it a little bit to get it to slide over. So where are my pliers? Right there. Let's kind of bend this corner up a tad. You know, this stuff is pretty bendable. Alright, so if that's down on all four corners, okay, so we can now go around and we'll put the small nails in these holes to get that securely in place. That one, surprisingly, was one of the harder ones to make, and I thought it would be the easiest one. But took a little while to massage that into, but that's your telescoping lid. Okay, so this masonite was really, really tight. In fact, it's probably a tad bit oversized. You can see there's a tiny gap right there. I wouldn't freak out about that here. If I was in my full shop, I would probably go on the table saw and take, you know, a blade width off, and that'll get it in there perfectly. If you don't have that, don't panic on this particular piece of gear, because this is your outside cover. The bees aren't really even coming into contact with this cover because this is there to just keep the rain and snow and everything out of the beehive. And so that little gap is not even going to be in the hive, if that makes sense, because that's going to be at the very top of the box. So if that really bothers you, the real solution would be to trim that down, the masonite, a little bit. But I think that most of the time in the factory, the tolerance is going to be correct. That piece is just maybe a 1/16 wide. So that doesn't bother me, so I'm going to go ahead and use it because it's not in direct contact with bees. Plus I can throw some paint on there and maybe a little wood putty and fill up that gap just fine.